Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to Toasted TCG. Today's video, I've got a brand new Kashtira deck profile for the current format. Something I've been testing with some friends online, taking to a couple locals, doing pretty well with. I messed around with some of the ratios from like my previous list, so there's definitely a lot to discuss. Definitely changed a bit with my extra deck, side deck, so it's definitely like a list different from what you've seen from this channel before. So let's get right into it with, we're gonna start with the Kashtira engine. For the monster lineup, it's actually a lot smaller than normal. Literally just these 10 monsters. So you might notice that there's no longer tier limit cash in here, and we bumped up to 3 Rise Heart. This is something that I've always said in the past, like I'm just kind of like okay playing with 2, and then it was like kind of like a preference thing. But the more that I tested the 3rd Rise Heart and cut the tier limit, I never missed having tier limit, and Rise Heart just, it's a better card, honestly, of course. The thing with Rise Heart is the more that you play Kashtira, the better this card becomes, I feel like. What I mean by that is like, from like example from my experience playing the deck. When the deck first came out, it was like you go Rise Heart, and if you had Rise Heart, you're typically banishing Big Bang. And there's just like that kind of like pre-programmed combo that you just had in your head where it's like, oh, I have to make my Shangira, then use my Rise Heart. But like when you break out like that mindset, it's like, oh, I can use this actually banish a Theosis and get something back, or I can banish something that I want in my hand and then get Theosis banished, or I can banish something, a monster I want to summon off of birth. So it's definitely like one of those things where like the better you get at this deck, this card just keeps getting better and better. And that's what I really like about it is the floor for this deck. Well, floor for Rise Heart's like pretty low, with a ceiling for it, of course, is like very high. Whereas with tier laments, it's kind of just like it's very neutral. It's either an extender or you brick and you go like activate birth, normal tier lament, hope to mill something good off the 3. So it's always just kind of doing like that same thing. Like of course, like Scareclaw, you can banish Theosis for like some plays with it, but I definitely feel like the 3 Rise Heart is just way better than the 2 with the 1 tier element. You're also gonna notice that there's no Ogre. The reason for that is like we cut preparations like a long time ago because it's just like if Lab isn't in the meta, there's not like a super important like trap deck in the meta, then it's like it's not really worth playing. And also with like of course like a Rise Heart's banned, so unless you open like Shifter or you have like Scareclaw and like something already banished, or like of course like banish something off Scareclaw, it's like typically your preparations is like a dead card. That card's not been great for a while. I think with Tempai though, it's something like worth considering. The reason I say that is if you can set up like preparation with Scareclaw in hand, when they enter battle phase, I think that could be like a really good play. You just go flip preparation, summon your Scareclaw. And now as long as you don't have any other monsters on the field that aren't Kashtira, you just kind of like turn off their battle phase. Or you like force them to make kind of like awkward play lines, I guess. So I think that's something like worth considering. But yeah, we cut Big Bang last format right at the end too. The reason that I cut Big Bang finally is just like after Rise Heart is banned, like of course, like banish Big Bang off Rise Heart isn't good, of course. So it became like a pretty decent board breaker for when you go first. So you set up like your Shangira, you have your Fenrir, and then like you have your Big Bang set that you searched off the Ogre. I just don't feel like it does enough. Like that's like the like real issue with Big Bang is just like either they're gonna play around it, and you don't really want a Big Bang when it's gonna just like cause you to break even, because it's just like if they're on 2 monsters and you're on 2 monsters, like you typically want to use all your monster interaction first and then Big Bang. So they're typically trying to out it before you use all your interaction because you're trying to hold on to it. So it's always just like something that it just feels bad. That was like my issue near the end of the format. It's just like it doesn't come up as well as it did in like pre-Phantom Nightmare format. So it did get cut, and then without any like traps to search off Ogre, I was like, there's not really purpose in playing Ogre. So we cut that as well. Onto the Kashtira spells. We've got 4 copies of Raitsoth. There's not really much to explain here. 3 Births. Again, not really much to explain here. And 3 Theosis. There shouldn't be much to explain here, but this is actually something I've noticed people are trying to play 2 of. And the argument for it is they don't want to open 2 of it. So they're like, oh, well, I'm mitigating my odds of opening 2. And the math actually doesn't favor that argument whatsoever. 3 is like just mathematically correct. So what I mean by that is if you're playing a 3 of this card, you have a 33% chance of opening 1 copy, right? Now, if you cut it, so now you're playing 2, you just drop that chance of seeing 1 copy by 10%. So now you're at like a 23% chance roughly. Now, what's really funny here is this is like, keep in mind the reasoning behind playing 2 is because you're afraid of opening 2. So what's really like just wild here is you have a less than 4% chance of opening 2 copies of a 3 of. Now, even if you do play 2, the chance of you opening 2 is only reduced by about 2%. So you go from a 4% chance of opening 2 down to a 2% chance of opening 2, which like mathematically it's very insignificant. But you go from opening 1 copy, a 33% chance, down to a 23% chance. So you're literally just killing consistency over a 2% chance of opening 2. Like, that's literally the argument. It's like the math does not favor it at all. Like, playing 3 is correct. You're literally just making your deck less consistent by choosing to play 2. There's no difference besides you made your deck worse. So that's the Kashtira, like, engine, main deck core. Non-engine, just these 3 pot, 1 talent. 1 talent, this is kind of just like my 40th card. I didn't know what else I really want to do with this. This could have been like a 17th hand trap, but I felt like talent was just like, it's good. I like it as just like that 1 of. And then speaking of hand traps, first we got 3 Ash Blossom. It's Ash Blossom. You always know it's gonna be in the game. 3 Imperm. Probably one of the best hand traps. And then we're playing some 2 ofs. 2 Ghost Mourner, 2 Ghost Spells. We're just playing 2 of each. I didn't want to like have some weird ratio where it's like 3 and 1. And I also just wanted to have like a good variety of hand traps for like cross out, anything like that. It's also, these are like, I feel like these are like the quote unquote like worst hand traps in the deck. So they're always pretty easy to side out. Then we have, of course, 3-Dimension Shifter. So this is a card I'm actually considering might be worth moving to the side deck. That might sound like really crazy, but hear me out. It's like of course, like Snake Eye is like the deck right now. Like, if you run into Snake Eye, you want to see Dimension Shifter, of course. But if you run into anything else, Shifter is not that great. Like, you play against Centurion, they don't care about Shifter. Tempai will run Shifter. Branded has, like, they have, like, their own play lines around Shifter. And, like, Snake Eye, of course, also has play lines to, like, mitigate the loss to Shifter. You have Runic. Like, if you're playing against, like, some weird Runic engine, like, sure. But if you're playing against, like, the most common version of Runic Stun, where it's just like, oh, cool, you shifted me, a set 5 pass, and it's like, nothing even happened. So I think that this should actually be worth considering siding. And then you just could like main deck a hand trap that conflicts with shifter. The reason I say that is like if you get into a matchup where you want to side your shifters back in, you just of course take out the hand trap that's conflicting. So it's like you decide like you have like Ghost Ogre or Veiler in the main perhaps with shifter inside. It's just something I'm thinking about right now. I haven't tried it out yet, but I definitely think it's something I might try before Nationals. Then final hand trap, we have 3 Nibiru. So I've always been like a day one hater of Nib and Kashtira, but I definitely feel like this is the game's at a point where I want to play Nib because I feel like the alternative is my opponent making board states that like I'm not going to beat anyway. I did change around my extra deck, of course, to like compromise for Nib, so that way it doesn't like completely shut my deck off. But even then, it's like the alternative is just like they build a board and you're dead. Like you play against Centurion, they're just gonna FTK you basically. You play against Snake Eye, they're gonna set up like so many points of interaction where it's just like, what are you doing? You know, there's just like a lot of decks out there where it's like I feel like Nib it's worth the trade-off of like, okay, now I have to get the Nib off my field versus the alternative just be like you're probably not gonna win at all. So that's the main deck. Onto the side deck. So another thing that I've been like a super day one hater on is the Mecha Phantom Beast Cybers package. This is something I've been trying out for the last few weeks, and it does one of two things. Nothing at all, just sits in my extra deck and doesn't come up. I banish it off Prosperity. I just like, kind of like don't even look at it. Or it's like it comes up constantly. And there's no in between. Like I played one locals where I went into it every single time, all night. And I played another locals where I didn't make a single one of these cards. There's like a point where I could have made Dragosack, but I had like something better to make. But the one thing that I've noticed about this engine, people that tell you to play it don't explain why. They say, oh, well, you draw a card, you make Appaloosa, there and there. And it's just like, they don't actually explain like how you do any of this. Well, they explain like the combos, like you do this into these, into this, into this, and then like these into either of these. But they like, I think what really holds people back from playing this engine is they don't know when to actually go into it. They just think like, oh, I have 2 level 7s, I overlay this, I play into Nib and I die. And I actually had someone explain this to me recently, and there's actually specific hands that you want to see before you go into this. I think it's very important to know these, because I think this changed my entire mindset on it. So there's one hand. There's another. So these hands, these do the same thing. And also Planet. Planet can be any of these 3 monsters, of course. So how it goes is we'll do the Unicorn line first, and then we'll do the Fenrir line. You go summon your Unicorn, you search your birth, you normal summon your Rise Heart, banish your Fenrir, make it level 7, overlay into your Dragosack, and you have your birth still in hand. You make 2 tokens, you detach, typically just like detach Unicorn, doesn't really matter who gets detached, because you're just going to link both the tokens away. You go right there. Now, I'm assuming like someone's going to be like watching this video and go like, oh, well then you get nibbed here and you lose. So I'm going to show you the line that what happens when you get nibbed. But first I just want to show you guys how to play the line like regular. So you link your spiders away. You make your G-Golem. You go G-Golem, get back one of your link spiders, we'll get back the ulti. You link 3, you make your Heat Soul, you pay your 1,000 to draw a card, And then from here, you can link these away into either 2-Negate Appaloosa or SP Little Knight. You don't do this line if you have Prosperity in hand or if you Shifter. Because if you Shifter, you can't G-Goal them back. You could go, like, link the G-Golem with the Phantom Beast, make an SP, but it's like, it's bad. Don't do that. So let's say we go into our Appaloosa, okay? So your opponent holds their nib, thinking like they don't know the line for what this line does, and they hold the nib. It's like, now you drop an Appaloosa. And it's like, oh, well, now my nib's stuck in my hand. Cool. Now you can go Birth, special summon back your Fenrir. Fenrir can then search your Scareclaw. And then you have your Unicorn in the yard that you detached from your Drago Sack. So you can go summon, and then you can make Shangira if you want, or like some other rank 7. Or you can just like leave this in hand for like some interaction, just have Fenrir Appaloosa. So all of 2 cards. So here's the line if your opponent nibs you. So we'll do it with the Birth and Fenrir. Okay, so you're gonna go with these in hand. Especially your Fenrir. You then search your Rise Heart. Again, normal summon your Rise Heart, make it level 7. And this basically plays out the same way. So you just like, you banish your Unicorn. How this works here is, so assuming you don't get nibbed, of course, it's like after you do all your plays, you have like your Appaloosa and whoever else, you can birth back your Unicorn. Unicorn searches Theosis, and that's how you get your 2 level 7s. But we're going to assume that in this play line we get nibbed. So we overlay, make Drago Sack, make your 2 7s, or your 2 level 1s, your tokens, you detach your guy, you make your guys. You make your spiders. Let's say like they nib here. It really doesn't matter if they nib here, if they nib here, if they nib here. It doesn't not matter. These guys are all gone. You can birth back your Unicorn. Birth Unicorn gets you Theosis. It's literally the same thing. It's literally the same thing. And you just can make your Shangira, or you can make like, I don't know, I grab a Scareclaw off that line. Theosis grabs your Fenrir. And you still have 3 other cards in hand too. Like this is just a 2-card combo. So those could be like 3 hand traps. And now it's like they have to play through 3 hand traps, Fenrir, Unicorn, Birth. So it's definitely you don't lose to nib. If you go for this line, you do risk playing into Drool Knock. I think that's like something that kind of turns me off of it, is you do risk playing into Drool Knock, so you have to like really study your hand and think like, if I summon this and attempt to go for the Cyberse line and they drool me, what's my follow-up to that? So definitely like you have to be able to recognize the hands and what your play line is if it gets stopped. I think it's really neat. I definitely have changed my opinion on it after seeing like people have actually explained it and not just gone, oh, you play the Cyberse line because you draw a card. Because I think that was the issue, is I never had someone actually explain how the line works. And they're saying, oh yeah, you just play it because you draw a card. Not without like actual proper like showing how the line works, when to do the line. 1 Donner. So this is actually the are out to nib token. So we go, of course, like you nib them, and then you can just go normal summon Rise Heart, normal summon Ash, normal summon Ghost Spell. You have so many normal summons in this deck. You can link it away with your nib, make Donner pop itself in the token or something else, and then you're good to play Kashtira. 1 Shang. This format's too fast to play 2. Most of my lists do play 2, but the second one just doesn't come up right now. If we were playing post-Phantom Nightmare or pre-Phantom Nightmare format, there's Lab, there was Rescue Ace. I think 2 Shangira is still fine, but this format's just so fast. 2 Dark Armed. Card is really great. This is something that does come up as a 2 of, where there's times where like you make the first one pop 2, make the second one pop 2, and if you don't like the Cyberse line, you can just overlay these into F-Zero. Zeus and Typhon. Don't really need to explain these too much. Big Eye, Flare Metal. Again, don't really need to explain these. This, if you miss lethal or you're going in time, and then Big Eye is really good, typically in the matchup, in the mirror match, where it's like, if there's a 7 on the field, you can go like yoink their 7 and like do shenanigans. Finally, the side deck. I personally think my side deck's kind of cool. It's something I worked a lot on. There's some things I want to change with it, but I really like it because it plays. It's pretty like unexpected how the side deck is. So to completely like be a hypocrite right away, 3 Drool and Lock. This is really just like I mentioned, there's so many matchups that don't really care about Shifter, so it's like the easiest side out. And then when you do play against Snake Eye, you side this in as well, because you're playing, at that point, you're playing Shifter, Drool, and Nib. So if you open, like, those plus, well, any of those hand traps, plus any other hand trap, you can usually stop their turn. 1 Thrust. This is just for going first, because we play, like, some really cool going first cards. 2 D Barrier, 2 different Dimension Grounds. So my side deck pattern isn't to play these all at the same time. It's typically to play these, or to play these, and then 2 Shared Ride. This is something I'm kind of iffy about. I've been testing it, and it's kind of cool. I definitely think, like, this is a format where you definitely draw 2-3 cards off Shared Ride pretty often. I still know how great that is, something that I want to try out, and just like, I feel like okay about it. If you don't like this, it could probably be like the 3rd D Barrier or the 3rd Ground. Next up, this kind of like my own like personal tech. 3 Typhoon. This is something I've been trying out. It's primarily for Centurion, but it's also like, if you play against Runic Stun, you can hit their floodgates with it right out of your hand. I think that's like kind of interesting. We are playing 2 Cosmic Cyclones, so before we say like why not just play Cosmic, but also this card is way more interactive than Cosmic, MST, Twin Twisters, because what this card does is you have to target a face-up card, face-up spell or trap. You destroy it, but if your opponent has 2 or more spells and traps, and you control none, you can activate it straight out of your hand. The reason that I like this is, so like if you're playing against, like, say, like against Centurion, for example, they play the purple one. Purple one puts itself in the back row along with like Primera out of deck. I forget the name. Someone's gonna be mad at me about that. But and then they attempt some Primera, use Typhoon it. Like resolution of like their level 12 to scale something out of grave or banished, use Typhoon what they scale. If their opening play is something like field spell, they discard off field spell while they have like the heavy samurais, Typhoon the field spell. This is same for like I mentioned, like Runic. If they flip a floodgate, they typically have 2 or more spell and traps, so you can Typhoon there. Against Snake Eye, same deal. Like on their end phase, they'll typically have field spell plus IP, so you can Typhoon their IP. This just has like some pretty cool utility. I think if I do decide to move the shifters into the side deck, though, this would be the cut. And then main deck Ghost Ogres. The reason I'm not playing Ghost Ogre is I feel like Shifter, like it conflicts with Shifter, of course, but Drool and Lock is like the only hand trap where I can like compromise on that, because Drool and Lock has that potential to end someone's turn, whereas Ghost Ogre is typically just a 1-for-1. So I feel like it's definitely one of those things where it's not like a great trade-off. Like I don't want to play Shifter and play a hand trap that conflicts with Shifter that just goes 1-for-1. Whereas I can play Shifter and a hand trap that conflicts with Shifter and potentially just reads end my opponent's turn. But yeah, I think if Shifter were to be moved in the side, this goes out, Ghost over, and go into the main deck. And then when I want to side Shifters in, I can easily side the Ghost Overs out. And then 2 Cosmic Cyclones. This feels pretty nice. I like this lineup pretty well. But yeah, that's my list right now. If you like this, leave a comment. Let me know what your other thoughts might be on it. If you like the content I make, definitely give the video a like, subscribe, comment, do all that cool stuff. It'd be very appreciated. And until next time, guys.